Hello! Arthur here. The world changed a lot over the course of the 20th century. In 1900 it was the late Victorian era, and by 1999 there was the internet and space travel. The speed of technological advancements has gotten faster than ever before. Thousands of years ago you could expect technology to not change much over the course of a single human life, but now technological changes are happening within decades, if not years. The world will likely change a lot over the course of the 21st century as well. The world in 2099 will likely be very different from the year 2000. One of the biggest changes that will happen is humanity's colonisation of the solar system, specifically Mars. Elon Musk plans to build a colony on Mars by the year 2050, and has already laid out a plan to get to Mars by 2024. That's 3 years away. He plans to send cargo ships first in 2022, and then humans in 2024. You may think that 3 years sounds too optimistic, and you could be right. Elon has missed his deadlines before, but he is a man who gets things done, and has achieved many of the things he set out to do. He has already made many strides in the field, such as the Falcon 9, the world's first reusable rocket, and recently a high-altitude flight test of the third Starship prototype, Starship SN10. Unlike the previous two prototypes, this one was able to land without exploding for 8 minutes and 23 seconds until this happened. Many more tests and developments will need to take place, but when completed, Starship will be a fully reusable system to carry cargo and crew not just to Earth orbit, but also to the Moon and Mars. One of the biggest challenges in building a colony on Mars is getting to Mars. The planets in our solar system aren't in a straight line, and are instead constantly moving around the Sun, and so are constantly at different distances from each other. At its closest, Mars is 33.9 million miles away. However, this has never happened in recorded history, and the closest it has been was 34.8 million miles in August of 2003. At its furthest, Mars is 250 million miles away. Because of all of this, finding the best launch window is crucial. Earth and Mars are at their closest every 26 months, or little over 2 years. You wouldn't launch when Mars was closest, however, because by the time you reach the orbit of Mars, it would have moved. Precise calculations of orbital mechanics would have to be made, and we would probably make use of something called a Hohmann transfer orbit, in which the spacecraft would move from Earth's orbit into Mars's orbit by starting out in Earth's orbit and adding just enough energy to transfer into Mars's orbit. So that's when we'd go to Mars. But going to Mars opens up a whole bunch of other issues. The journey would take between 6 to 8 months in the depths of space, far away from any other humans. A danger of being in deep space for that long would be the risk of radiation poisoning. Here on Earth, we're protected from the sun's radiation by the Earth's magnetic field. But in deep space, there is no protection from solar radiation or galactic cosmic radiation. Protective materials would need to be found, and there have been proposed designs for artificial magnetic fields that would pass an electric current through a coiled and superconducting wire made of magnesium diboride and could produce a magnetic field 3,000 times stronger than Earth's magnetic field. Because of the decreased gravity in space that can weaken muscles and bones, astronauts would have to do constant exercise in order to withstand these extreme conditions. Robots would most likely be sent beforehand to build the habitats on Mars, 3D printing these structures on the surface for human use. Proposed designs for such houses have been made, which would have multiple stories and flexible roofs to protect inhabitants from Marsquakes. This design of house is even being built here on Earth. Some have said we shouldn't build above ground on Mars because of the increased radiation levels, and should instead build underground bases like this, or bases that are half above ground and half underground, like Martian hobbit holes, in which an artificial cave would be 3D printed, and then asteroids would arrive and bring habitation units with them that would be inflated in order to reduce weight on the long mission to Mars. Peronis Mars, one of Mars's many volcanoes, contains a series of lava tubes that could act as cave systems to provide refuge for travellers exploring Mars's surface. Another aspect of going to Mars is finding the best landing site, which would ideally be flat and not too rocky or dusty. Such a landing site may have to be low in elevation because parachutes would be used to deploy landing vehicles. All this results in Valles Marineris being considered one of the best landing sites. Valles Marineris is a giant system of canyons, deeper than the Grand Canyon, stretching 4,000 kilometres across the surface of Mars. Getting to Mars involves many challenges, but so does living on Mars. Join me in part 2, coming soon, where I discuss the challenges of actually making a home on Mars. Thanks for watching.